The village of Kijabe rested under a vast Kenyan sky. Red dust coated everything, rising in clouds when the children ran. Small mud huts with thatched roofs dotted the landscape. The air was often thick with the smell of wood smoke from cooking fires. Life was simple, but it was also very hard. The sun, a relentless orange ball, beat down on the earth each day. It made the ground crack and the crops wither if the rains failed. Yet there was a warmth in Kijabe, a closeness between neighbors. Everyone knew each other, shared what little they had, offering a helping hand or a kind word. The Mwangi family, Papa Joseph, Mama Sarah, and their two children, David and Aisha, lived in one of these huts. Papa Joseph worked a small shamba, a piece of land. He toiled from sunrise to sunset, his hands rough and calloused. But the soil was tired, the rains became unpredictable, sometimes too much, sometimes too little. Mama Sarah tried her best to supplement their meager income. She would weave beautiful baskets or sell vegetables at the bustling market, her voice joining the chorus of other sellers. Worry etched lines onto Papa Joseph's face, lines that deepened with each passing season. Their biggest dream was for David and Aisha. They wanted their children to have a good education. The local village school was a small building, always needing repairs. Books were scarce, shared between many eager hands. The teachers did their best, but they were few and their resources were limited. David was a clever boy, always asking questions. Aisha had a bright smile and a quick mind. The Mwangis saw their own unfulfilled dreams in their children's hopeful eyes. They knew Kijabe, as much as they loved it, might not offer the future their children deserved. A quiet desperation began to grow in their hearts. At night, Papa Joseph and Mama Sarah would whisper, their voices low so the children wouldn't hear their worries. They spoke of the future, of the shrinking opportunities. Faint stories traveled on the wind, tales of people who had left Kenya, who had gone to a faraway land called America. It was spoken of as a place of endless possibilities, a land where hard work was rewarded. The idea seemed like a distant star, almost impossible to reach. But the seed of hope, once planted, began to grow, pushing against the weight of their daily struggles. The decision to leave Kijabe was the hardest they ever made. It meant selling their few precious belongings. Their 2 goats, which gave milk for the children, were sold. The small shamba, their only source of food and income, was sold too. Tears flowed freely as they said goodbye to their relatives, their friends, the people who were their whole world. The village elders gathered, offering prayers and blessings, their faces a mixture of sadness and hope for the Mwangis. It felt like they were uprooting an ancient baobab tree, its roots deep in the Kenyan soil. The air was heavy with unspoken fears. The journey began with a long, bumpy bus ride to Nairobi, the capital city. For the Mwangis, who had rarely left Kijabe, Nairobi was an overwhelming place. The noise of cars, the throngs of people, the tall buildings. It was all so different. Then came the endless paperwork for visas, the long queues, the anxious waiting. Mama Sarah clutched David and Aisha tightly, her heart pounding. Papa Joseph tried to appear strong and confident for his family, but inside he felt a tremor of fear. Each form was a hurdle, each official a gatekeeper to their dream. Then came the day they boarded the aeroplane. It was their first time ever seeing such a machine, let alone flying in one. As the plane soared into the sky, they looked down. Kijabe, then Kenya, then Africa grew smaller and smaller below them. The vastness of the ocean stretched out like an endless blue carpet. David and Aisha, their faces pressed against the small windows, were a mixture of awe and fear. Mama Sarah whispered prayers, her hands clasped tightly. Papa Joseph gripped the armrest, his knuckles white, the hum of the engines a strange lullaby. During that long flight, the reasons for their journey became clearer than ever. They were not just escaping hardship, they were flying towards a promise of a better education for David and Aisha, a promise of a future where their children could achieve their full potential. The memories of Kijabe, the taste of the dust, the warmth of the community, the struggle of the land, all these things fueled their determination. They were carrying Kijabe in their hearts, but they were reaching for a new horizon, a place called America. When the Mwangi family finally landed, New York City was a shock to their senses. The buildings were like colossal giants, scraping the sky. The noise was a constant roar, cars honking, sirens wailing, people shouting. Crowds of people rushed everywhere, a blur of motion. It was a true concrete jungle, so different from the open plains of Kijabe. The air itself was different, filled with smells of car fumes, street food, and 1,000 things they couldn't name. They felt tiny, almost invisible in this vast, overwhelming place. Their colorful Kenyan kitten's clothes made them stand out. Their first challenge was finding somewhere to live. They eventually found a small, cramped flat in a bustling, noisy neighborhood. It was nothing like their hut in Kijabe with its space and fresh air. Then there was the language. English, as spoken in New York, was fast and confusing. Papa Joseph and Mama Sarah struggled to understand and to make themselves understood. David and Aisha, though young, also felt the strangeness of it all, often clinging to their parents. The little money they had brought with them seemed to vanish quickly. Loneliness became a quiet, unwelcome guest in their small flat. Papa Joseph began the desperate search for work. He was willing to do anything. He cleaned offices late at night. He washed dishes in hot, steamy kitchens. He labored on construction sites, his body aching at the end of each long day. Mama Sarah, too, found work cleaning houses for wealthy people in other parts of the city. The work was hard, often demeaning. They missed the dignity of their life in Kijabe, even with its poverty. But they remembered why they had come. Each dollar they earned was a small step forward, a tiny brick in the foundation of their new life. Soon it was time for David and Aisha to start school. This brought new anxieties. The schools were so big, so different. The other children spoke English perfectly and looked at them with curiosity. Sometimes David and Aisha were teased for their accents or their unfamiliarity with American ways. But children are often more resilient than adults. Slowly, painstakingly, David and Aisha began to adapt. They learned English with surprising speed. They started to make new friends. The sound of their laughter, hesitant at first, began to fill the small flat again, a melody of hope for Mama Sarah and Papa Joseph. Years passed, filled with relentless hard work and unwavering perseverance. Papa Joseph, through his diligence and honesty, eventually found a more stable job as a caretaker in a large apartment building. The residents appreciated his calm nature and his willingness to always help. Mama Sarah, using her wonderful cooking skills, started a small catering business from their home. She cooked delicious Kenyan dishes, samosas, pilau, sukuma wiki. Word spread, and soon people from all backgrounds were eager to taste her authentic food. The aroma of spices, once just a memory of Kijabe, now filled their American kitchen with warmth. David and Aisha thrived in their new environment. They excelled in their studies, never forgetting the sacrifices their parents had made. David, with his sharp mind for numbers and design, went on to study engineering at a good university. Aisha, compassionate and kind, dreamed of becoming a nurse to help heal others. They spoke perfect English, yet at home they still chatted with their parents in Swahili and Kikuyu, keeping their heritage alive. They were a bridge between two worlds, proud of their Kenyan roots and grateful for their American opportunities. Their success was their parents' greatest joy. Slowly but surely, the Mwangis achieved a sense of stability and peace. They were able to move from their cramped flat to a slightly larger one in a quieter, greener neighborhood. They could afford better food, comfortable clothes, and even save a little. Importantly, they were able to send money back home to Kijabe, helping their relatives and contributing to the village school. They found a supportive community among other immigrants and at a local church, people who understood their journey. New York, once so daunting, now felt like home, a different kind of home, but home nonetheless. Looking back, Papa Joseph and Mama Sarah often marveled at how far they had come. Their American dream had not been about instant riches or a life of effortless ease. It had been about providing safety, opportunity, and a brighter future for their children. It was about the peace of mind that came from knowing their children could dream big and achieve those dreams. They still kept photographs of Kijabe, of their old life, and looked at them with a mixture of sweet nostalgia and profound gratitude. They had carried the resilient spirit of their village across an ocean, planted it in new soil, and watched it blossom beautifully.